Oh, no. Yes! Yes, that's me, yep. Important wizard. Really busy with lots of, wizarding stuff. Right. Well, good to see you.
Hello my beautiful gorgeouses and welcome back to my channel. Sorry for the late upload, I haven't been as motivated to edit this month. Anyway, in today's video we are doing a video dedicated to Mr. Sunburst. Something I've noticed from being in the My Little Pony community for around 10 years now is that Sunburst is kind of a hated character. For example, most people will say that he's their least favorite character for whatever reason, or that he's their least favorite unicorn at least. I don't really know why this is because there's not many reasons I can think of why you'd hate Sunburst. I think some people doing this are just saying Sunburst because there's not many characters in My Little Pony you can hate necessarily, which is a good thing because My Little Pony has a lot of well-written characters. Sunburst was first introduced in Season 5 in the episode The Cutie Remark Part 2. He was shown in Starlight Glimmer's backstory as her childhood friend who got his cutie mark in magic. Sunburst inevitably ended up going to Princess Celestia's magic school and leaving Starlight behind. But this isn't a video about Starlight, so let's just say this kinda pissed her off. Sunburst's first true introduction to the show is in the Season 6 debut, The Crystalling Part 1 and Part 2. Starlight's first friendship mission as Twilight's pupil is to reunite her with her childhood friend who was briefly mentioned earlier, aka Sunburst. Starlight is worried about their reunion as she hasn't seen him since Sunburst left her for magic school. Okay, so this is a pretty valid reason people might hate Sunburst, as his reasons for doing so are never really explained in the show. Pretty shitty Sunburst. When the two actually reunite, Sunburst kinda shoves her away, probably from the guilt of ditching her for no given reason. He could have been a bit less rude about it though, as Starlight, to his knowledge, came all the way to the Crystal Empire just to see him. He then didn't even let her come in and just shut the door at her face. I'm starting to see why people don't really like him. She eventually forces herself back as she explains the Princess of Friendship wants him to have a real conversation and become friends again. Sunburst lies to her about him becoming an important wizard after he graduated from magic school. This is due to more of his guilt of just leaving her to get basically nothing in return. Although Starlight also lies about her villain backstory to him due to her thinking he's an important wizard who wouldn't look at her the same if he knew what she really did. Again, I'm starting to understand what these people mean. To cause a plot to actually happen in this two-parter, the Crystal Heart ends up getting destroyed by a baby alicorn, which means the Empire is no longer protected by the Icy North. Starlight thinks of an idea to ask for Sunburst's help. She runs, or gallops, over to his place to inform him on what's been happening. He tries to get out of it the best he can before finally telling her the truth. Starlight shares her true backstory with him as well, and the two head back to the castle before it's too late. Sunburst ends up helping with a spell to fix the Crystal Heart and everything goes back to normal. He then ends up becoming Flurry Heart's Crystaller, which basically means it's his job to protect her. Crystaller's jobs aren't explained fully very well. Starlight and Sunburst ended off as friends again. The next big Sunburst episode is Season 7, Episode 24, Uncommon Bond. This episode follows Sunburst visiting Starlight in Ponyville. Starlight plans on doing stuff the two used to do as kids, although Sunburst has other plans. Sunburst has gotten new interests since he was a kid, like everyone does. Sunburst is now more into reading, antiquing, rocks, etc. This ends up causing existing conflict. Starlight plans on playing a game from their childhood they would play together all the time. The game is called Dragon Pit. When Sunburst arrives, he shortly ends up seeing Twilight as her and Starlight live together. Sunburst was planning to go antiquing, which was what Twilight was about to do. The three go antiquing together and Starlight feels left out due to Sunburst clicking with Twilight more than her. And people say a show about rainbow horses can't be relatable. Starlight tries playing Dragon Pit with both of her friends, but it doesn't feel the same as it used to. Later, Sunburst and Starlight end up coming across Trixie. Sunburst ends up clicking with Starlight's friends more than her, only this time over magic tricks. The same thing happens again, only this time with Maud and Sunburst. You should go watch my Maud video, by the way. Only this time, the two bond over rocks. Due to Starlight's anxiety over her friends having more in common with Sunburst than she does, she ends up calling Sunburst over to the throne room and turns the room and them into their childhood selves playing Dragon Pit. This scares and makes Sunburst uncomfortable, rightfully so. Sunburst gets mad at Starlight for overreacting since he wasn't able to understand her point of view in the situation. Coming from someone who has experience what Starlight is going through, I still think there's no one in the wrong.
You need to leave!
She hasn't explained to Sunburst how she's feeling, so it's acceptable for him to not understand what's happening. Sunburst, after looking at Starlight's point of view, has an idea to make a life-size version of Dragon Pit for them and their friends to play. The group end up laughing over this, and Starlight and Sunburst learn to understand each other more. Extra little plot point here, but while they were antiquing, Sunburst bought a mystery box full of old antiques and stuff. In the barrel, however, there was a book that was written by Swirl the Bearded. Just keep this in mind for later in the video.
Starlight? Where's Sunburst? Doing stage magic with Trixie. Studying new rocks with Maud. You're here, so I guess you two aren't off translating some ancient old Ponish text.
Shadowplay Part 1 begins with Sunburst taking the book he found written by Swirl the Bearded to Princess Celestia. The first scene starts with him reading it out loud to her, and for some reason the main six are there too, so he probably informed them before heading to Canterlot. The book talks about how Swirl and his 5 other acquaintances, because he didn't believe in friendship, did the spell, trapping the villain they were fighting, and them in this state they call limbo. Limbo is a state in time where you don't know what's happening and can't feel time passing around you. You or them are basically frozen in time. I'm gonna try and keep this quick as this isn't a video dedicated to Shadowplay. But basically, the main six and Starlight and Sunburst end up bringing them back. But with them, they bring back the villain they were fighting. This character is called the Pony of Shadows. Stygian is the guy being possessed by this demon, and the main six end up using friendship on him to bring him back to normal. That's the briefest I can explain Shadowplay without going on some huge tangent. Sunburst helps the group in this episode, and him helping with the plot in this two-parter so much made me still want to talk about this episode.
I just happen to be an expert in Old Ponish. I mean, I've practically memorized every ancient text about Swirl there is!
Seriously, all of them.
The episode The Parent Map, which is a reference to the famous movie The Parent Trap, is the first time we get any information on Starlight and Sunburst's parents. Sunburst has been ignoring his mother's letters and basically her existence. His mom's name is Stellar Flare, by the way. Starlight has also been ignoring her dad's name being Firelight. Sunburst and Starlight's cutie marks end up glowing, which means they're being called by the map. The two head over to Twilight's throne room and find out where they're going. To their dismay, it's their hometown, Sire's Hollow. They depressingly get on the train heading back home. When they arrive, they realize some changes since they were last there. The town had been pretty modernized, following the trends courtesy of Stellar Flare. Although Starlight's father tries to make the town still keep its original traditions and culture. The two become rivals over this, which Sunburst and Starlight think is their friendship problem. After fixing their parents' relationships, they realize they aren't being sent back to Ponyville yet. They shortly realize the real reason they were sent there is to fix their relationships with their parents. They struggle doing this, but eventually learn to understand each other better. Sunburst appears in Season 6, Episode 16, The Times They Were a Changeling. He's shown protecting Flurry Heart. In To Where and Back Again Part 1, Sunburst tells Thorax to notify Twilight or any of her friends who are left about Queen Chrysalis's return. Sunburst is shown at Starlight's ceremony and Celestial Advice. In Student Council, Sunburst is shown helping to look for Silverstream. During a Trivial Pursuit, Sunburst is shown competing in trivia. In A Horseshoe Inn, Trixie recommends him to be Starlight's vice principal. And lastly, in The Ending of the End Part 2 and The Last Problem, he's shown as a final tribute to the show.
But I don't want to ruin your party.
We can still have a party. A search party.
Sunburst is shown as your pretty typical nerdy, awkward guy, although at the same time it's pretty obvious he's just written in to add on to Starlight's character, and mainly her backstory. Although I could say the same thing about Maud just being written for Pinkie Pie's character development. In my opinion, Maud is still a better character than Sunburst based on the way she was written. She was created not just for Pinkie, but also because of Starlight's friends later in the series. More on Maud in the video I have about her. Now, the only valid reason I can think of why you'd hate Sunburst is his abandonment of Starlight to go to magic school. It seems like the writers also abandoned this, even with how big it was a part of Starlight's villain backstory. Although without Sunburst, Starlight would have probably never turned evil. So for all you Starlight glazers who hate Sunburst, without him, we wouldn't have Starlight. Sunburst's reasons for leaving Starlight are never explained, so it just makes this whole situation seem worse on him. However, Sunburst made this decision as a child. Now, I'm definitely not one to pull the "but they're just a child" card. However, Sunburst's brain wasn't even close to being fully developed when he left. He was probably caught up in the fame, and that's everything to a child. Come on, you made tons of stupid decisions as a child. Cut him some slack. So to answer the question of the title of the video, the only reason I can see based on watching every smidgen of screen time he has is because of his abandonment to Starlight for no given reason. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening to me ramble. Here's a shout out to Sunburst's English voice actor, and I will see you guys in the next video. I'm gonna take a little break from going over single characters, but in a couple months I'll give you guys a video about Trixie. Now if you excuse me, I just spent days on this video, so I'm gonna do something not content related. Bye!